Always fun, crazy. It's painful, but it's wonderful. What is the name?
It's Reusse Unchained.
All right, Reusse Unchained. Now, did you guys talk about the four Twins managerial candidates? This is new for Reusse Unchained. Okay.
This is new for us. Yeah, I think actually that thing was probably they were throwing that out about the time we got off the air yesterday, I would guess. So the four candidates now.
Well, so
I
it's for
did
the audience. It's James Rowson, former Twins hitting coach, Bomba Squad. Derek Shelton, former Twins bench coach, Bomba Squad, and Pirates manager for a few years. Ramon Vazquez, current Red Sox bench coach, and Kurt Suzuki, former Twins All-Star catcher.
really now. What's he doing now? What's Suzuki doing? Is he on somebody's coaching staff or?
He's a special assistant to the Angels front office. So he's been
Okay.
kind of like, I don't know what the
I
Twins have had those over the years at
I
times.
think we all mentioned Rousen and we all mentioned Derek Shelton, who was very popular as Rocco's bench coach there. I think those would be two, and I would make Rousen the favorite. I really would. I
Okay.
think that he has a good reputation, and he's coming from the Yankees, and everybody got along with him, and I would make him the favorite. But I really don't. I really don't know for sure. They don't know. They don't know either. Do you think I think they're probably early in the process, aren't they?
Judd, I don't know. I feel like these are probably their finalists.
Do
I,
you really? I really.
I think they would. This is just I'm not reporting this. I think Derek Falvey would love someone that he's familiar with, and there's two guys on that list that he's very familiar with. I don't know how familiar he is with. I mean, Kurt Suzuki was not here when Falvey took over. He was gone by then, but I think he would love to just keep the thing going. And Rowson and Shelton are familiar, and they've been here, and they know how we operate. And let's go forward.
That's I have the same thing, and especially the idea that okay, we hired Rocco. He was a first-time manager. It worked out okay. They made
Yeah.
playoffs and stuff. But do you think they want a first-time manager? I mean, Ralston would be a first-time manager, but he's experienced. Would they want a Suzuki or I don't know how long has this Vasquez been around? Is he like a 45-year-old guy, or what do we know about?
Yeah, he's like so he had a 9-year major league career. He was drafted. He's from Puerto Rico, drafted by the Mariners in like the late '90s. I think he's in his mid 40s or maybe close to 50 years old, and he's been Alex Cora's bench coach for the last handful of years. And he was on that staff in a different capacity in Boston for a while too. So kind of like a utility infielder for fairly young compared to other managers. Yeah.
Well, you know what? The managerial hire is interesting, but is it really that important unless you're going to do something to improve this ball
Right.
club? I mean, is that that's my theory. I Shelton would be walking in there with his eyes wider open than anybody, don't you think? And
Yeah.
having gone through it with Pittsburgh. But I got news for you, Derek. If you end up coming in here, you don't have Paul Skeens. I want to tell you that you don't have a duplicate of him to lead your pitching staff.
So, Pat, how much do you think it alters the decision as well, or affects it is probably a better word? If your theory is right, though, and they didn't, and Derek Falvey didn't want to fire Baldelli in the first place, because that would speak to him wanting to bring a guy in who is from the Baldelli camp to sort of continue, what he sees as the flow, as opposed to going in a different direction from how Rocco was.
I wonder if I guess I'm not saying that he didn't want to fire Rocco, but I think he was the management insisted, and to go through it again. You guys watched the press conference. I've never heard a guy that was so made sure that he mentioned collaborative every time that they,
Yeah.
corrected us every time that we suggested that he had fired him. So yes, I really don't know. I can't read his mind, and I think his mind right now is very cluttered with what. How are we going to try to put this thing together? Let me bring something up that happened today. I guess they released this picture, Mikulski, that they got from Houston, the
Yeah.
26-year-old A-ball pitcher, and people are using this as as a reason to rip the Twins that they didn't get anything for Correa. No kidding, you morons. They the only reason they took this guy was they had to take a player in the trade. You just can't take cash. So they had to take a player. And Houston said, if we're paying two-thirds of it, we're not giving you anybody who has any chance to pitch anywhere except with for George Samus somewhere in Illinois. It's you idiots ripping them because this guy got cut. Really? That's the trade was made to get rid of Correa's contract. You dummies. Stop making it into a issue that the pitcher couldn't pitch. You knew he couldn't pitch. Look at him.
100% agree
Yes.
on that front. I will say they are rippable for having Carlos Correa for 4 years and then deciding halfway through that right sizing the business is more important than, like, if they were, to me, if they're gonna kind of scale back a couple years ago, they should have gone to him then and said, all right, let's bail on this, let's get a head start, and then maybe you can get something for him 2 years ago instead of
And
letting
let
the clock run down for 2 more years.
And let's be honest here. They signed him because they thought they had a chance to win one season for 35 million, and Boris came and presented him as a 1-year deal. They
Yeah.
didn't want him back. But they ended up stuck with him when he backed off, and they had offered 200 million, knowing that it was 100 million short of what he was going to get, except he couldn't get the 300, so he came back and took the 200, and basically that ruined everything. That ruined the whole plan, right?
But what's so weird about the entire thing is if they would ever have had a good excuse to bail, right? It was the Giants and Mets doctor who said this guy you should not sign him. The Twins could have said, "Hey, in light of what the Giants and Mets doctor found out, we actually think it's a bad idea." Like of all of the dumb things the Twins do, I think they could have gotten away with that, but instead they took him back and then oh my god, he starts to break down.
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, you're forgetting here is it wasn't the wisdom of the Mets and Giants doctor, who was the same guy, by the way. It was that the entire orthopedic industry of the world was conspiring against Carlos Correa. Just ask Scott Morris if you were at that press conference. All he did was talk about the horrible orthopedic industry in the United States, which once again was proven correct. But now Carlos ended up with what a 2.5, whatever it is, rating, so it wasn't quite as bad. But as I said, when you look at Carlos's September, the Astros couldn't have missed the playoffs without him. Okay, they would have, he had two RBIs the last 2 weeks of the season, and that came on the last weekend. He
Yeah.
was, I liked him, but apparently I was way wrong on him as a shortstop because I looked at him when they hit a ball to him. He had this great arm, made these great plays, played behind, knew where to position hitters. But apparently, if you studied his range a lot closer, he was. It was. I mean, Rocco, when I exchanged texts with him, which were just between us, said it was time for him to move to third. I did. I thought you were getting a shortstop for the next 5 years, didn't you? I thought he was an adequate
Yeah.
shortstop or
What's funny
better.
is that he just immediately agreed to move to short. Well, he was going to move to
Third,
shortstop for the Mets originally, right?
third. You mean move to third?
I'm sorry, third,
Yeah,
Yes.
third,
correct.
third,
Yes, he
third. Yeah.
was. Yes.
And then
With
he
Lindor.
agreed immediately with the Astros. But the Twins also were trying to figure out. They didn't think Reusse was a shortstop, right? So
He
Yes.
supposedly had told the Twins. The story was that Correa had gone to the Twins like a year and a half ago and said, "Hey, I might want to transition to third base." The Twins were like, "No, you're not transitioning to third base yet, dude."
Well, here's the thing about him: is he ever going to be a great hitter again? I wonder if
It's tough
it,
to imagine.
it is. I don't know. How can he be done at this? How can he and Buxton, the 1 and 2 picks, and the guy who has the great year after 10 years of injuries is Buxton, and
Yeah.
Correa's not. But anyway, as far as what the future lies ahead here, uh, what do you think? Maybe next week they'll let us know. Maybe next
For like the managerial announcement, yeah,
after
I think.
before the World Series starts or something like that.
Yeah, there's still so of the 8 teams that had an opening, I think only 2 are filled. So there's still 6
Yeah,
teams
yeah.
out there trying to figure out who their
People are not.
skipper is.
Meanwhile, the Brewers are going down, and I got a note today from a guy who's involved with the Padres. He's got like a small piece of ownership with the Padres, so this guy's got some money. He is now rooting for the Dodgers. He is rooting for the Dodgers to win the next 2 World Series, to win 3 in a row, because he believes that's the only thing that will get baseball to sit out as long as it takes to get some kind of salary control and some kind of balance back into the game. So he might be right, big picture. I can't help but hating them when the guy who pitched the shutout last night, very good pitcher. They gave him $300 million
Yeah.
to go with 700 million for Otani. That's $1 billion for 2 guys. This cannot work. We've always had the balance problem in baseball since forever. When the Yankees went to the World Series every year in the American League, but now it's the the Brewers 112 million versus 509 million, and that doesn't count the full tab for Otani, which is another 25 million. So I mean, what this could be them win again. Maybe in the long term that'll help, but I don't think you're going to have to worry about paying for your season tickets in 2027, right?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be yeah, there's so many things to untangle. And
Hmm.
they kind of kicked the can down the road 4 or 5 years ago when they did
Yes.
the 5 year renewal. They figured they did enough to get baseball back on the field, knowing that there's a lot more work to be done and a lot more ground
The
to
only
cover.
the only thing that's going to work is the Gary Bettman strategy of
Yep.
shut her down,
Yep.
and you come back and talk to us whenever you want to. But when you come back to talk to us, it's about a salary cap. So
Yeah. So you have right now, according to Spotrac, team spending this year. So total payroll. There's no way we've ever had this level of discrepancy. At the top, you've got the Dodgers and the Mets at 340 and 350 million dollars in payroll.
yes,
And then at the bottom, you've got the Marlins at 67 million and the White Sox at 78, Tampa, the Athletics both below 90. So there's almost a $300 million gap between the top payroll teams and the bottom.
yes. And you're putting that surcharge on them, so it gets. And the Dodgers don't care. They just write out another check for $150 million to
Yeah.
and say that the great when Manfred let him get away with saying, yeah, we're giving Otani 700 million, but only 200 million of it a year is for this year. The other 68 million is deferred. Okay, you know.
Here's my question: How do you get to a point? But before you broach the salary cap and get that done with the players, though, I think the most important move internally for the owners is you've got to get your TV, including the local money, all into the same pie. So like
Yes,
the Dodgers and Yankees can't just run because that's their payroll.
sure.
And so how do you get the owners, like it's almost going to be a head-to-head battle between the owners, and then if they get through that, the owners are going to have to take on the players, which
Well,
we've never had before, by the way.
there's no doubt this is a great, big, much bigger problem for Manfred than anything Bettman had to deal with, because everyone in hockey agreed that none of them were making enough money and they had to get they had to get control of everything. But they're not, there's not, okay, the Rangers might have been making more money than the Wild, but it was probably 50 million bucks. It
Yeah, and the Maple Leafs. You're
wasn't
right.
500 million bucks.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean it's a it's a mess that nobody has ever really addressed, right? We every time, and the players, Tony Clark, and they're already saying there'll never be a salary cap. Well, if you go through entire 2027 without playing baseball and collecting your money, you can start your own league. They started the Federal League in the 1910s, they were going to have, teams in Mexico and stuff, and because they were fighting for them. Yeah, 110 years ago, they tried to form their own league.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it works. But
I mean, I think you'd have to figure out a way to put a floor on it too. That's what the other leagues have. A salary cap
oh,
keeps
sure,
everything a
you
little bit
have
more fair, and even I just did the math here. So according to Spotrac, there's $5.2 billion if you add up every team's payroll this year. It's
yes,
$5.2 billion. If you divide that by 30, that would mean the average payroll is $173 million.
yes,
So you'd have to create some room so that if you want to, it's like the NBA. If you want to spend into the first apron, second apron,
yes,
you can't. There are hard caps along the way,
yeah.
but it condenses it so that there's not a $300 million gap between the top and
Well,
the bottom teams.
maybe that's the way to go, is to go to the aprons and make it impossible for the Dodgers to do anything
Yeah,
if
like
they do that.
roster construction wise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, this whole thing, you don't get any draft choices. You don't,
you can't make
you
a
can't
trade at the
sign
deadline.
anybody. You can't try. You can't do anything. It's that the NBA system seems to work because this year there's no movement at all, right?
Yeah,
Did anybody
yeah.
did
The
any
the NBA
did
basically
anybody
says,
sign a free agent this year? I mean,
yeah,
any of the big names?
the NBA basically says, because there's been teams that blow through the luxury tax stop signs and yellow lights and say,
Yes,
listen, we don't. It is worth it for us, the Warriors, to spend $100 million in luxury tax payments or $200 million because our brand continues to be so strong and we win championships.
yes.
So the NBA said, okay, if penalizing you with extra money payments isn't enough, we'll penalize you by handcuffing your ability to like add a
Do
player via
anything.
trade or pick up a player, who's been cut, whatever.
Well, right now, supposedly the Buck, we got the Giannis thing going on. Well, anybody who gets him will never be able to do anything again in their history of their franchise,
Yeah.
right? From
You see what the Bucks did, by the way? The Bucks are so nervous and desperate to keep him through this tumultuous time. They have now signed both of his brothers to be on
Oh,
their
really? Oh, I knew he had one brother. Wasn't he? Did he
three
have one?
Antetokounmpo. There's Giannis
Yep.
and I can't remember the other brother's
I
name.
would never like to cover the Bucks because I could not spell the name. I would have no luck. Having to spell that name on deadline, no chance, right?
Stick it on a paste, a copy paste thing.
Yes,
Spell the name once.
Suhan wrote a column today suggesting maybe the Timberwolves should trade for him. What kind of jail would they be in then, as far
You,
as
you got to do what the Clippers did, Pat. You got to find a company to then flip it and pay
well,
him,
yeah, right,
like they did
yeah,
with Kawhi. It's genius until you get caught, and now you're going to
yeah.
lose a bunch of draft picks.
What are they going to do to them? By the way, what are they going to do to them?
I bet
Because
they lose a bunch of
it's
draft picks.
it's 100% that they cheated, right?
Yeah.
That they
Yeah.
cheated.
And also, Mark Cuban went on Pablo Torre's podcast yesterday, and among other things,
Again?
he essentially said, "Yeah, I think he went on for a second time." He strongly insinuated that the league should look at the Jalen Brunson signed that contract for like way under max value a
Yeah,
couple years ago
yeah.
to give them more room to sign other players, and he basically said someone should take a look at.
Listen,
Is there
involved.
a
Tibbs
Joe
was
Smith Kawhi?
involved. It couldn't have been any nefarious conduct.
Tibbs just spent his
Tibbs.
second day at Wolves
So
practice
hold
a
on a
couple
second
days
here.
ago.
So there's now more cheating on things in pro basketball than college because you can get away with more in college without the NC2A caring now.
Yes, yeah, the
Yeah.
The
NCAA
Knicks are
has
going to
to
go on
take it.
probation.
When are we going to have the college basketball players switching teams at mid-season? When are we going to have for the second semester? And when
The
how
transfer
far
portal is open for conference play now. Let's.
how far is it? How far away is that? Because the only thing the NCAA wants is to not get sued anymore. So
How about trades
yeah, yeah, that
for
could be.
cash too? I'm some
Yes.
small school. I got this player. He's thriving. He's great. I trade him to Duke
Oh
for
yeah.
$2 million.
Oh, it is the greatest thing in the history of the world that pro teams have more control of the movement of their
Yes.
players than college teams do. By far, by
Yeah.
far. It's unbelievable. By the way, I believe Nico breaks out his club tomorrow night. We get to see them again,
Yep.
North
Yeah.
Dakota.
He
So
has spent the entire last couple months bringing alumni back to practice.
yes,
Chris Humphreys was at practice yesterday with
Teach, teaching
Willie
them how to
Burton.
move teaching them how to move the ball around there when they throw it in
Yeah.
the post to move it
So when
back.
they throw it in the post, you just dribble for 20 seconds and then
Yes,
take a hook
and
shot.
shoot. And when the triple team comes, shoot anyway.
Yeah.
That was that's the Chris. Oh man, I was mean to him. It was terrible how I treated him, and he drove me nuts. What he didn't he average like 1.2 assists a game or something?
That might be high.
Yeah.
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 Well, supposedly he and Billy, Bill I knew, his dad went down and basically for their visit, they're going to go to Duke with Coach K, and they told him that he had to start and he had to get so many minutes and he had to get so many shots. And Krzyzewski says, "Yeah, we'll see you later, boys. Thank you for coming." So
Well, and didn't Dad then sit behind the Gopher bench and notoriously shout ideas towards the bench?
that could have been true. Yes, Bill. I'm so old. I wrote a column on Bill when he was a college football player for the Gophers.
Oh,
Pretty good.
wow.
He's a great interview. But I had the mustache going then, and
The
the
hair?
I'm going to say this. It's a little ethnic, but I'm going to say this. But Bill asked somebody a month later or so, "Hey, I haven't seen that fat Mexican around lately." I had the mustache and I had the kind of I don't know
The curly hair?
curly,
Yeah.
curly hair. I did have
The
kind of.
picture of you in Oakland with the Twins pitcher is an all timer.
Yeah, Don Carruthers. Yeah, they had the curly hair going. That gin went right to my hair, man. It made it all curly.
It's good for the follicles. Yeah. Gin's good for the follicles. All right, Pat. Well, we'll talk Vikings with you on Friday, and
All
uh,
right.
and we'll celebrate another important day on Friday too. So
Okay. All right. Oh, that's right. We'll see
that's
you.
right. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yep.
Bye.
All right, Pat.
Bye,
We'll see you
Reusse.
later.
Bye.
Reusse
Bye.
Unchained here on Score North.